transportation costs for passengers and goods. Furthermore, this uninterrupted connection
crossing Romania will also benefit the entire Rhine-Danube corridor. The aforementioned motorway is divided in 5 sections, and works have already begun on one of them. A blueprint construction contract has been signed for the 5th section, and blueprint works are to commence shortly for this route. Bidding is already starting for the 1st section of the motorway, while
to the National Agency for Public Procurement, where bidding procedures are to begin soon. 2 other sections are going to cross the Eastern Carpathians. The first one, called the Union Road, links the cities of Târgu Mureș, Iași and Ungheni, and the second connects the cities of Brașov and Bacău. Both sections are connecting Transylvania to Moldova, Romania's poorest historic province, which has no kilometre of highway yet. According to Prime Minister Ludovic Orban, Romania's economic development hinges on the modernization of its infrastructure and bringing it up to European standards. In another development, the European Commission on Thursday approved another 578 million euros for Romania to improve the country's response capabilities in case of natural disasters or nuclear accidents. The money is to be used for the purchase of new equipment and for the training of personnel. You have been listening to our regular radio newsreel. Next in this program, sports. Hello, this is Daniel Bilz to the microphone. Romanian tennis player Sorana Cârstea has qualified for the 3rd round of the US Open after a 2-6, 7-6, 6-4 win against Johanna Konta of Britain. The 77th WTA Romanian player needed 2 hours and 49 minutes to outperform an opponent with a better position in international ranking. We recall that Konta comes 13th in the world standings and was seeded 9th in US Open. Cârstea managed to save 2 break points as her opponent pushed for the advantage at both 4-4 and 5-5. And the Romanian seized her chance in the tie-break, clinching her set point with an ace. In the 3rd set, Cârstea managed a break at 3-3, which proved decisive in a game that was also her first win against a British challenger. The two first met 3 years ago in the 2nd round of the Eastbourne tournament, when Konta obtained a 2-set win, 6-2, 6-2. Cârstea now has equalled her best performance in US Open, namely a qualification for the 3rd round, which she also managed in 2009 and 2019. The win brought her $163,000 and 130 WTA points. The Romanian will be up against 30th seeded Carolina Muchova in the next round. The 26th WTA Czech player comes after a 6-3, 7-6 win against Anna Kalinskaya of Russia and after a first round 6-3, 7-5 victory against Venus Williams. Another Romanian player in US Open, Patricia Țic, has been outperformed by Donna Vekic of Croatia 6-2, 6-1. Having qualified for the 2nd round, has brought the Romanian a check of $100,000 and 70 WTA points. And now the latest from handball. Romanian women's handball side CSM Bucharest disqualified for the Romanian Cup semi-finals after a 34-17 win against CSM Slatina. This has been the first official handball game played in Romania after a 6-month recess imposed by the COVID-19 pandemic. CSM Râmnicu Vâlcea versus HC Dunărea Brăila was also supposed to take place on Thursday, but HC withdrew from competition after 9 of its players tested positive for the novel coronavirus. SCM will be up against Rapid Bucharest in the semis on Saturday, while CSM takes on Gloria Buzău. The finals is due on Sunday. And that's all from our sports desk.
You are listening to Radio Romania International. Focus on Romania. The future starts today.
Welcome to The Future Starts Today. I'm Ana Maria Popescu. The coronavirus pandemic will probably be followed by even more deadly and destructive epidemics unless we put an end to their root cause, the endemic destruction of the natural world. The warning comes from world-famed biodiversity experts who argue that the recent pandemics are a direct consequence of human activity, particularly of our global financial and economic systems, which seek economic growth at all costs. We have a small window of opportunity to overcome the challenges of this crisis so as to avoid sowing the seeds of future ones. Professors Joseph Sattel, Sandra Diaz, and Eduardo Brondizio coordinated the largest health assessment project ever conducted, whose findings were made public in 2019 by Science Policy Platform on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services. Their conclusion is that human society is in danger because of the accelerated decline of Terra's natural life support systems. In an article published recently together with Peter Dachak, PhD, who is working on the next health assessment, they warn that, quote, rampant deforestation, uncontrolled agricultural expansion, intensive farming, mining, and the exploitation of wild species have created a perfect storm for the spillover of diseases, end of quote. Researchers say the economic recovery packages in the trillions of US dollars made available by governments must be used to strengthen and enforce environment protection, and that a global, unified One Health approach is required, because human health is inextricably linked to the health of wild animals, the health of domestic animals, and the health of the environment. It is, in fact, One Health. The coronavirus crisis showed us how vulnerable we are and how important it is to recover the balance between human activity and nature, the Executive Vice President for the European Green Deal, Frans Timmermans, says in his turn. In May, the European Commission adopted two strategies, one focusing on biodiversity and the other one on the food system. The new biodiversity strategy stipulates that by 2030, 30% of Europe's land and sea will be turned into efficiently managed protected areas, and at least 10% of the utilized agricultural land will include diverse landscapes, such as hedges, trees, and ponds that enhance carbon sequestration, prevent soil erosion, and water depletion. Adopted amid the COVID-19 pandemic, the strategy is a central element of the EU's recovery plan, essential to preventing future epidemics and strengthening resilience to possible epidemics. Frans Timmermans explains.
Biodiversity strategy is essential for boosting our resilience and preventing the emergence and spread of future diseases such as this. Because by destroying nature at an unprecedented rate, and now with around 1 million species at risk of extinction within only, we literally threaten our own life, our health, and our well-being. And this climate and biodiversity crises are fully interconnected. Stopping biodiversity loss is a precondition for reaching climate neutrality. It's an economic imperative as well, as almost half of the world's GDP is linked to nature. So in this biodiversity strategy, we propose ambitious targets for 2030 and present a far-reaching EU nature restoration plan. We propose, for example, to protect more land and sea, bring back pollinators and enhance biodiversity-friendly farming practices, green our cities, reduce pollution, plant trees, and improve the health of our forests.
Another strategy adopted by the Commission, Farm to Fork, provides for a 50% cut in the use of pesticides, a minimum 20% reduction of the use of fertilizers, the 50% reduction of sales of antimicrobials used in animal farms and fisheries, as well as for 25% of the agricultural land to be farmed organically. The strategy new better balance nature, food systems and biodiversity to protect the health and welfare of our citizens and to increase the union's and resilience, trust in the month also says.
Farm to Fork strategy builds a sustainability throughout the future. It presents a new approach on how we can ensure food security, sustainably producing and treating, how much pesticides and how much pollution caused by overuse of fertilizers. We also aim to curb the use of antimicrobials that lead to 32,000 deaths in Europe every year.
The two strategies reinforce each other, bringing together nature, farmers, enterprises and consumers to create a sustainable and competitive future. According to Brussels, under the European Green Deal, the EU launches ambitious actions and commitments to fight the decline of biodiversity worldwide and to turn our food systems into global benchmarks for competitive sustainability, the protection of human and planetary health, as well as for the subsistence means of all stakeholders in the food chain. Into the future starts today.
This is Radio Romania International broadcasting from Bucharest. Business Flash.
Hello and welcome to our business feature. I am Karin Kotsoiu. In July 2020, tourist entries in Romania went down by 44% as compared to the same period last year, according to the National Institute of Statistics. Of the total number, Romanian tourists were 96.7%, while foreign tourists made up only 3.3%. In terms of countries of origin, the majority were from European countries, 88.7% of the total, mostly from European Union countries. The average stay in July 2020 was of 2.7 days for Romanian tourists and 2.2 days for foreign tourists. Passenger air travel in the first half of this year went down by 61.9%. The number of passengers went down from 10,700,000 passengers to 4,100,000 passengers, according to data centralized by the National Institute of Statistics. The most passenger air travel was registered by Ericoanda Airport in Bucharest, Avram Iancu Airport in Cluj, and Traian Voia Airport in Timișoara. Ericoanda, the top airport in Romania, had 49.2% of the total number of passengers that flew nationally. German automotive parts and tire maker Continental announced cost cuts of over €1 billion by 2023. The company has a restructuring program that may result in 30,000 jobs being lost worldwide, according to Bloomberg. According to Agerpress, at the end of 2018, Continental had around 20,000 employees in Romania, of which about a third were engineers and IT experts in its research and development centers. The company has 7 production plants and 4 engineering centers in Timișoara, Sibiu, Carei, Nădab, Brașov, and Iași. Through the SME Invest program, companies have accessed loans worth over 12 billion lei in Romania, which is the equivalent of about 2.5 billion euro. According to Dumitru Nancu, General Director of the National Fund for Small and Medium-Sized Enterprise Loan Guarantee, 51% of the total went straight to investment. You have been listening to Info Business on Radio Romania International.
And with that, our broadcast in English for listeners in Western Europe, Southeast Asia, and the Pacific area has come to an end. You can listen to our next program for Western Europe at 11 hours UTC on 13750 kHz and 15130 kHz, as well as on the internet at www.rri.ro Channel 1. Listeners in Southeast Asia are invited to tune in again tomorrow at 3 hours UTC on 9740 kHz in the DRM system and on 8 to 5 kHz in analog system. Listeners in the Pacific area are invited to tune in again tomorrow at 5:30 hours UTC on 15410 kHz and 17760 kHz. If you have any comments or suggestions, please write an email at engl@rri.ro. Goodbye.